Hey friend, welcome to the Selfcare Isn't Selfish podcast. I'm your host, Emily Nichols. I'm a self-care coach who is on a mission to help you get your body and mind fit through simple and sustainable self-care habits. And I get it. I'm a busy working boy mom who used to feel like a hot mess all the time until I found a solution, my own self-care routine. And friend, I want that for you too. Join us each week to hear attainable self-care tips for all areas of your life from my amazing guests or quickie episodes with me sharing my own experiences and professional wellness knowledge. After each episode, you'll leave with an action plan to start making self-care a priority in your life and get your body and mind fit. So grab a cup of coffee, glass of wine, or your favorite sparkling water, and let's do this. You're listening to episode 70 of the Selfcare Isn't Selfish podcast. And you might hear some snoring or heavy breathing right now. It's not me. It's my dog, Dexter, our 6-month-old lab puppy. He is cuddled up in here with me while I'm recording this, snoozing away. So that's just real life of being a working mom, right? Right. So I'm really excited to dig into today's episode. I could geek out on talking about habits all day long. It is the framework, the foundation for building a self-care routine. And we're going to be talking about this more in my free Facebook community. There's a link in the show notes if you'd like to join us. You know, I listen to a lot of podcasts and books on Audible, and it doesn't really help if you don't take action based on what you're listening to, okay? Just going to be real with you here. That's why every Thursday in my community, I post a worksheet. It's just like a little mini workshop you can do on your own, but it's a worksheet that you can use to take action based on what the theme of the show was for each week. Because if you're just thinking about it, it's not going to happen. You got to take action. So there's a link in the show notes. Come join us over there. It's free. And I post a lot of funny memes too, because memes are so funny and so giving me life right now during this whole year, right? If we were to collect all of the memes in the group text I have right now, I think we could start a book. Hilarious. So let's get into today's episode. We are talking about habits and why you keep starting but then stopping with new habits. And I am speaking with my friend and fellow podcaster, Kim Barnes Jefferson. So let me tell you a little bit about Kim. And you guys, you are going to love her. I loved this conversation. I loved listening back to this conversation as well. But Kim is the host of the Fit Girl Magic podcast and creator of the REPS formula, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But she really focuses on helping women over 40, and I'm almost there. I'll be 40 in 2021. But she helps women over 40 break the healthy lifestyle rules to really just feel fit, confident, and comfortable in their own body. So she dishes out the real talk and really helps you just stop spinning your wheels, which I love. So, you know, she really helps her clients realize it's your strong habits that lead them to creating repeatable routines that just ultimately give them the results that they've been seeking, not only just physically, but mentally as well. And I had so many great takeaways from this conversation with Kim that I know you will have as well. You know, motivation is always really high when you're starting something new, whether it be a workout routine, a diet, you know, I'm going to read so many books or drink water or whatnot. But there's a lot of other factors into it in order to make it successful. And habits are just the framework to making your own self-care routine and your own wellness routine stick for you. You know, the beginning of my wellness journey really began in 2015 when I did the Whole30 that year. And I stuck with it for the whole 30 days. I followed all the rules. And at the end of it, not only did I feel amazing, but in my mind, I was like, I can do anything because I actually stuck to something for 30 days and created new habits for myself. I can't tell you how many times, I mentioned this in the show with Kim as well, how many times have you done this too? You're like, Monday morning, I am starting this new workout plan. I am starting this new diet. I am rocking it. I have outlined it all on my calendar. I am going to do great. And then life happens. And by Friday, you're just, drowning your sorrows in a margarita and tacos and maybe some cookies. Is that just me? Well, listen in, friend, because Kim and I are going to help you establish healthy habits so you can stop that crazy cycle of starting and stopping new habits and really just start creating new habits in your life to help you feel your best. So let's get into today's conversation with Kim Barnes Jefferson. All right, gang, thanks again for tuning in to the Self-Care Isn't Selfish podcast. I am so excited to dig into this conversation today with my friend, Kim Barnes Jefferson. Kim, thanks so much for coming on the show.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I can't wait to have this conversation with you. I had so much fun just chatting with you a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to keep talking to you. So here we are. Well, the first question I ask all my guests is, what does self-care mean to you? So Kim, what does self-care mean to you?
You know, it's funny. Like, I remember we were talking about self-care, and self-care is this like big, huge word. And I was like, all right, what does it really mean to me? And I was like, for me, self-care is more of like, I call it my diagnostic, like tuning in to myself and saying, what's missing, right? If we kind of go with like the basics of life, like, you know, do I need more water in my life? Do I need more sleep in my life? Like, is there something that's missing, like out of the basic necessities that I need? That's self-care for me.
I am writing that down. Diagnostic. That is perfect.
Right. Because like so many people think it's like manicures and pedicures. Like, oh, that's nice. And I enjoy those things.
Sure.
But like sometimes it's something as simple as like we were talking before we hit record. Like I was just all up in my head today. And I was like, you know what? I just need to get my butt out there. I need to walk like that. I just need to like clear all of the static.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit more about you, Kim. Can you share a little bit about your story and kind of where you've been, where you are now, and kind of what you do right now too?
So for the past 15 years, I've been a health and fitness coach. And, you know, if you would have told me 15 years ago that's what I would be doing today, I would have been like, no, because I remember, you know, my husband and I got married and he just turned 40 and I was like, okay, well, you can't die on me. So, and his family doesn't have the best health history. So I said, okay, why don't we get each other a personal trainer for Christmas? And I didn't have any weight to lose, just so you know. And so, or in my mind, we get there, the personal trainer is like, oh, okay, so Philip, you could probably use about 40 pounds, and Kim, you can lose about 20. I'm like, oh, we're here for him. I'm just a cheerleader. And from there, that like literally changed the trajectory of my life. I would go every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. I would ask that man so many questions. He could have easily like choked me with like a barbell, like, because I just asked so many questions. And I just was like so fascinated by, I was finally setting goals for myself. I had never set a goal for myself until I walked into that gym floor. And that translated into me doing things outside of the gym, like setting goals for myself outside the gym that I was like, holy crap, look at me. I'm getting stuff done. And from there, I was like, you know what? Other women need this because, you know, I still feel like, even though we're having like, you know, the moment of the she right now, I still feel there's a lot of women who kind of get in their own way. Like they kind of feel stuck by either relationships, jobs, just relationships with their bodies. So that's how like I kind of came into being.
I love that. Well, and it's interesting because I kind of feel the same way. Once I really found like my own thing, I guess you will, that works for me as far as taking care of my body, it's just snowballed into so many other areas of my life and wanting to set goals and just feeling like the healthiest version of me inside and out in every way possible.
Yeah. And it's like all of a sudden you're like this, like, I don't know, hidden light switch got flipped on that you're just like, why doesn't everyone have this hidden light switch? And like, you want everyone's hidden light switch to be like, come on, girl, let's turn that on.
Yeah. Well, kind of like what you said earlier, your self-care is diagnostic. And I think we have so many tabs open in our head. And we're so busy running around taking care of everyone else. You don't take the time to listen to those cues or even know what those cues mean and what you can do to make yourself feel better.
I'm raising my hand because I was that girl. Like I would run around with a chicken with my head caught on fire. And I don't know who said this, so it wasn't me, but it's brilliant. They said, if you can't hear your body whisper, how are you going to hear it scream?
Oh,
Does that not like take your breath away?
yes.
And if I think about like all the things that have happened with my own personal health journey, and I look back, there have been so many times that my body has been like, hey, I need a break today. Hey, I need a break today. And I was like, shut up.
Yeah.
We're going.
Don't have time for a break.
Right. It's like, well, I remember the whole adage, I'll sleep when I'm dead. If I got 5 hours of sleep, I was decadent.
Right. Oh my goodness. Well, and then when you get to the point where your body is yelling at you, that's when overwhelm and burnout and anxiety is high. And then you just almost have paralysis. Like you just can't do anything then.
Right. Cause you don't know, you're like on your list of like, this is all a hot mess. You're like, it's all on fire. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the fire department's on break. Like, I don't even know, like, how to get them.
Right. They're huddling. They're like, we don't know where to go.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I feel like so many women can relate to that. And like you said, on your own health and wellness journey, you started setting goals for yourself in other areas of your life. And I know you are an expert on habits, and I could talk about habits all day long. I feel like it's so interesting, and there is a science behind it, in my opinion, but I can't tell you, just me personally, how many times I've started something on a Monday, and by Friday, this new habit I'm trying to do, it's gone. Like it never even existed. So how do you help teach simple habits and to, stop that vicious cycle where you start and then fail, repeat all these new habits you're trying to do in your life?
So first, I want everyone to, if you are that person, I was that person, so I'm raising my hand, so we're starting a support group right now.
Yes.
One, forgive yourself. Like, give yourself grace, because I want you to think about if you're a mom or if you've seen kids, does a kid go from crawling to sprinting overnight? The kid gets up, he pulls himself up, and he pops it back down, and we all giggle. We're like, oh, isn't that so cute, right? But we don't give ourselves that same grace. Like we're trying new stuff right here. So we're going to pull up, and we might stand for a little bit, and then we're going to fall on our butts.
Yeah.
And so I always say the first step is to give yourself grace. Second step, no one hits it out of the park on the first try. I live in Boston, and so Boston's a sports town, so I use a lot of sports analogies. So sorry, ladies. So the Red Sox is our baseball team, and there's a player called Big Papi, and every time this man came to bat, everyone expected him to just knock it out of the park, do like a grand slam, bring all the bases home. And you know what? Sometimes he did it, and sometimes he didn't. And I don't think he went back into the dugout and he's like, well, I sucked. I'm giving up baseball, blah, 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 blah. No, he was like, all right, well, I found something that didn't work. So now in my head, I'm like, okay, what are my options? Like, what can I do now that's going to make it work? And one of the things I bring my clients through what I call my reps. Like, you have to get in enough reps so that you know that when you get up to bat, the possibility of you hitting a home run is higher than you striking out. But that takes time. It's not you're going to be on Monday and by Friday you're going to be like crushing it. Maybe you are. Awesome sauce. But I'm going to tell you, it's a rare individual that starts a habit and crushes it the first time through. And so I always challenge my clients to say, okay, whatever it is you want to start, let's put in some reps. Is it realistic? Right? So if you told me, I want to run a marathon, and actually Emily's husband is planning to run the Boston Marathon whenever we get marathons back. Yeah, whenever real marathons come back, virtual smirtual.
Yeah, right.
So, did he wake up and be like, hey, Emily, I'm going to run the Boston Marathon on Friday?
Right.
No he's been training for years. So it's unrealistic if I'm going to wake up today on a Monday and say, hey, I'm going to run the Boston Marathon on Friday. No, that's not realistic. So think about whatever you're picking. I don't care what it is. Is it realistic for you right now? And it's only a yes or no question. There's no like, well, no, yes or no. It's kind of like the decision tree. No, it's not realistic for me to run a marathon in 5 days. Well, okay, maybe I'm a runner already. Okay, good. Maybe can I up my mileage? Great. Am I excited to up my mileage that much in order to run that marathon? Maybe, maybe not. Some people are runners. I only run for the meter maid and if there's a bear chasing me. Those are the only things that get me to run. My runners out there, they're like, yeah, running for life. And then after, I'm like, if I'm not excited about it, like if you can't get excited, that's momentum. Many of you think it's willpower. You think it's momentum's just going to come knocking on your door and grab you by the arm. It doesn't. And then it's like, can I make a plan in my life? Right? So many of us create these habits that I have to like literally do all these like gymnastic kind of twister moves in order to make it work. Well, how long are you going to want to do that before you're like uncle?
Right.
Like you're not going to want to do that for the long term. And lastly, is it sustainable? So maybe I can, gather up the enthusiasm. Maybe I can white knuckle it. Maybe I can use my willpower, my determination, my discipline, blah, 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 all those words. But at some point, past day, 5, day 15, day 30, can you see yourself doing this for 3 years, 30 days, 45 days, right? That's what I walk my clients through. Because like whatever habit you want to start, I'm all in. But I want it to be something that you're going to look back and say, damn, look at me. I did it. And I don't have to choose hard because maybe it's something like, gosh, I wish I got 7 hours of sleep. Awesome. Let's work on that. Or, I'm thirsty all the damn time. I wish I had more water. Awesome. Let's do that. Or, hey, I would just love to be able to get in a daily walk. Great. Let's do that. We all think we have to climb Everest in a bikini in clear heels in order for it to count. Right. No one's standing there giving you a merit badge if you choose the hard path. But if I choose a path that is going to lead me down the path to consistency, guess what? That's where the results live in anything you could do day in and day out and twice on Sunday.
Hey gang, cutting in on this conversation real quick to tell you about my favorite headbands from Maven Thread. As a fitness instructor, I've tried, I think, every headband out there. Maven Thread is my favorite. It doesn't squeeze my head real tight. It doesn't slip while I'm teaching or taking a workout class myself. And best of all, they are so cute. So many different pretty patterns and colors. And I think I have one for every season of the year as well. So head over to maventhread.com and you can use the code EmilyNichols22 to save 15% off your first order. And hey, while you're there, check out their other workout apparel. They have so much more than just headbands. So head over to maventhread.com and use the code EmilyNichols22 to save 15% off of your order. And hey, tag me on Instagram at EmilyNichols22 so I can see you looking super cute during your workouts in your Maven Thread headband.
Yeah. Well, I could unpack so much here, Kim. So, I think you've made a really great point. It's like you said, forgive yourself. Starting small and simple and working your way there. But I think one of the key things you said there was make sure it's enjoyable. There's so many people saying, oh, here's my morning routine, or here's what I do every night before bed. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I think I'll try that. And you're doing it. And you're like, this is just a pain in the butt. It's not enjoyable. I don't want to do it. Guess what? Don't do it. Like try something else that brings you joy and fulfills you. And like you said, over time, it's something you feel like you can be doing years out. And it's not even necessarily a routine anymore. It's almost like an innate ritual that you do every day, like brushing your teeth. You're going to do that every day. I hope you do that every day. But it's something that you just do automatically without thinking about it. It brings you joy in so many other areas of your wellness and health that you don't even have to think about it.
And it's funny that you said brushing your teeth. Like that's how I always equate. Like when people are like, "Oh, habits are so hard," I'm like, brushing your teeth is a habit. Like you didn't just like come out of the womb brushing your teeth. Well, you didn't have any teeth, but anyway, you didn't come, like it's something that we've learned to do. And now it's like, do you even think about it? Do you brush your teeth before you wash your face, or do you wash your face before you brush your teeth?
Good point.
You just do it. You don't even realize. Or like coffee. Like, do you put in the cream before the sugar or the sugar before the cream?
Right.
You just, it's what you do.
Yeah.
And I know for many people who struggle with like healthy habits, they're like, how is it possible? And I was like, because you chose hard, right? Like during this whole pandemic, I used to get up at 5 in the morning, but I was like, I gave myself grace. I'm like, I don't need to get up at 5 because I have no place to be. So I woke up at 7, but every day I set my alarm and I got up and I did something, right? So it's because I was in the habit of getting up and working out in the morning. So it's not this overnight thing, but it's like, once you do it, it's like greasing the groove. Right. It's something that like you just do. And I think Stephen Covey said that it's like, you have to figure out like, how is it going to turn into, that's just something that you do. Like, you don't think about drinking coffee in the morning. You just wake up and you're like, boom, the coffee's in the cup. Sometimes you don't remember it happening.
Yeah. How'd this get here? Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. And, people they're overcomplicating things.
Yes.
Like choosing hard. Just make it easy.
Right. And it's like, I don't, like I said, there's no merit badge. Like, I wish, like, if life gave out merit badge, my ass would be like right there trying to get that merit badge.
Have the full sash just overflow.
Exactly.
They got to give me a second, a third one.
Right. I'd still be selling cookies, like the whole bit. But, that's not how life is. And so, like, if I just chose the easy path and I started to build these small, simple, easy habits, you feel like a freaking rock star.
Yeah.
And when you feel good, guess what? You want to keep going. But every time I'm failing and every Monday comes and I'm like, all right, yet another Monday. Like, stop that. Like, here, I'm giving you the slap back into reality.
Yeah.
Keep it really small, because the more things I add, the more complicated it gets, and the more complicated it is, the less I'm going to want to do it. Because I'm going to tell you this, life is always going to come at you. I don't know what it is. Sick kid, car accident, work late, tired, whatever. Life is going to come at you. So all the things that you say you have to do in a day, something's going to fall off because life comes at you. And then when life comes at you multiple times, all of your rituals, all of your habits start to erode away because it's too much for you in that given moment in time.
Yep. So just start small. I love that. I love that so much. I could talk about habits all day long.
I know.
Well, I want to talk about this because I love that you really focus on women 40 and up. So I'm 39. I'm going to be 40 next year. So, and I'm like, I want to be the healthiest version of me, not just physically, but just like mentally as well. And I love on your website is like, did you feel like when you turned 40, like you gave yourself your 40 gave you the finger? Like, yes, I'm like, I can see how women feel that way. So, I mean, what happens to a woman when they turn 40? I mean, I'm noticing some changes, and I think it's more hormonal
right.
stuff happening for me. But what kind of changes when you turn 40 as a woman, and what's the best piece of advice you could give someone at that time in their lives?
So the first thing I'm going to tell everyone is that, like, for many people, turning 40 doesn't change a damn thing, right? You can like go through 40 and be like, what are they talking about? Right. You lucky ducks. So, but typically what happens when we hit 40, I'm going to say the 40 to 45 age range is that, our hormones start to fluctuate. And at that point, many women are into perimenopause. And perimenopause can last for like 20 plus years. Like, that's, I'm sorry, like, you can't call something peri. I'm thinking like, it's like a prequel and it only lasts maybe no, it could last for decades. And so that's when like all of our hormones are starting to just kind of dwindle, right? And so they're starting to try to find their new normal, and we are just along for the ride. So that's one of the primary motivators of people like, my body is just changing. So what I always tell people, the biggest thing is, here is where in our 40s we have to really start to dial in our nutrition. We have to really start to dial in our workouts. Now, when I say this, I'm not saying go out and be on that 1,200 calorie diet and, you got to be out there flipping tires and doing like 2-hour boot camps. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, maybe you are that woman who could get away with eating whatever the hell you wanted to eat. Well, sadly, that party is coming to an end. So maybe you have to be a little bit more mindful of, you're scaling back on the treats a little bit. Maybe you're not having a glass of wine every night. when you come home, right? It's looking at those little things, and that it's more of how am I getting in the quality of food versus, the extras.
Yeah.
Eating off my kids' plates. Those things are what I'm talking about. Like, 'cause that's what I really start with most of my clients. And if you think about it, everyone here listening, you know what I'm talking about. You know at least 2 or 3 things that you're like, oh girl, you called me on my stuff right now.
Yep.
Right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's where I start with people, because it's mainly the extras that we used to be able to get away with that we can't anymore, because we are going through this like hormonal, tornado. Then the other piece is movement, because maybe for the last, the average woman nowadays, they have their first kid 32, 35. And so maybe we've just been overwhelmed with motherhood.
Yeah.
And we have been on the back burner. So we haven't been, moving as much other than chasing kids around. And so maybe it's now being more diligent about putting in some type of exercise program for us. And now when I say that, I'm not saying this crazy ass workouts. I'm like, okay, maybe it's being more diligent when your kids are at the park. Maybe you're doing squats. Maybe you're doing push-ups. Maybe you're doing jumping jacks. You're doing something there other than gabbing with the other moms.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I'm saying it's like 15, 20 minutes, like, trust me, I ain't got time for those 2-hour workouts anymore. Like, I max out like 45 minutes. Like 45 minutes in, I'm like, are we almost done?
If it's longer than 30 minutes, I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. And when I say 30 minutes, I'm not saying going out for a run for 30 minutes. Now, if you love running, great, awesome. But I'm saying strength workouts, because here is where we need the muscle. The more muscle we have on our body, the less we can get away with a little bit more of those wiggle room foods, right?
Yeah.
But I got to have the muscle. So like, muscle isn't about like, turning into a bodybuilder. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, 2 or 3 times a week, like, lift some weights, do push-ups, squats, body weight, whatever, but do something that's not just cardiovascular.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's definitely changing your mindset too, because let's face it, a lot of women around this age, they've come from a diet culture and sticking around, 1,200 calories, like you said, a day, and being a cardio queen and just being on the treadmill or the elliptical or doing really hard workouts. I mean, and there's a time and place for cardio. I do love cardio, but I have found so much more strength, obviously, in weight training, but not only strength, but inner strength as well.
Right. There's something about like, so during the pandemic, my husband bought a lot of crap online, and he bought, I did too. Sorry. I think we all did.
Yeah.
So he bought this like saw table. I don't know, whatever the hell it was. And the top was 100 pounds. And he was like, crap, how am I going to lift this onto the table when I assemble it? And he's like, I can't really call over a friend because, like, we're in Rona times. So I was like, well, why wouldn't you ask me to help you? And he like looked at me like, oh. And I was like,
okay, you're helping him now.
I'm like, all right, game on. So we literally lift the table, lift this heavy thing and put it on top of the table. And he was like, holy crap, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, it's called a deadlift. And we just deadlifted 100 pounds. And he was like, all right. So that's what strength can do for you. Like, think about, you hear, mamas lifting cars off their babies. Like, you lift, the average toddler is 30, 40 pounds. You're lifting that all the time. So
babies all the time.
Right. So let's do it in a formalized manner, or hell, use your kid as your deadlift. But it's like, think about what the practical approach is versus like, oh, that's heavy weight. No, you're lifting your damn kids all the time. You're lifting them and they're all their crap all the time.
Right. Weight training, it's just do you good so far. I mean, thinking about getting older and just your bone density and so many other areas of your life. Another area to mention, I feel like women can maybe start focusing on a little bit more is rest.
Yeah.
Sleep.
Oh my God. Yes. Like, these are the 2 things I always tell people when they're like, I'm just too busy. I'm like, great. I know, maybe you're too busy to die, but if you're too busy, sleep, and stress management. If you do those two things, many women will start to see, especially in our belly areas, many of us will start to see that inflammation come down just by, giving yourself 7+ hours of sleep and just, stepping out of the poop storm of life.
Yes. Yep. For sure. For sure. I love your show. It's called the Fit Girl Magic podcast. And you say you help women find their inner magic. And when I read that, I felt like I could see like those little sparkle star emojis. Because I know what you're saying and I know that feeling. But what does that mean if a woman's listening and she doesn't know what that inner magic is? I know I've personally found it through my own journey, but what if a woman is like, but what does that mean?
So everyone's inner magic is different. It was kind of like what I alluded to earlier in the show where I all of a sudden I found my inner light switch, and all of a sudden I was just like, I thought that about all the possibilities, right? So many, I find a lot of women, and we can think about all the negative things. We forecast into the future. I tried this before and all the negative things that happened when I tried it and I failed. And we never think to ourselves, okay, let's flip the switch. Why did I fail? I always call it, let's go CSI. You see a dead body on the floor. How did they get there? There's blood splatter. There's a knife. What the hell happened in this room? No one takes the time to do that, right? I love CSI. It's one of my favorite shows. So it's for us, it's taking the time to say, what made me happy in the past? What lit me up? What was something I just couldn't wait to do? And it could be health and fitness, or it could be hey, I remember I used to like to knit, or I used to like to, do whatever. Do that. And start to build on that inner happiness, because then it'll start to rewire your brain to say, well, what else is possible? Do I always have to be miserable? Do I always have to be stressed out? Do I always have to feel like a live nerve?
Right. I love that. I love it. Like I said, I could just see the little sparkle emojis because I was like, yes, I get that. And that's what I know both you and I are trying to help women to do, is to find that light bulb moment, that inner spark that just goes off and helps them feel good and do something for themselves, not anyone else, just them, and feel that.
And it could be 15 minutes. My husband makes fun of me every night because of my nighttime ritual. And my nighttime ritual legit is 20 minutes. But it's I read for a little bit, I meditate for a little bit, and it just makes me happy.
And that's a happy husband then too.
Right. But every night he's like, well, sometimes you keep me up. I'm like, for what? The 5 minutes? And the man literally he closes his eyes and next thing you know, I hear snoring. So keeping you up.
Your nighttime ritual is putting him to sleep too. He's like, oh, I got to go through Kim's ritual and go to sleep.
Right. And then he passes out in 2 seconds.
I love that. I love that. Kim, I have loved this conversation with you so much. So what's next with you and what you're doing with your business and your show? So
it's funny you should say that, because I just had this what does 2020, what does 2020 look like for me? Yeah. So right now, I'm working on a new project about, instead of us always focusing on losing weight, what if we started to focus on building muscle? Yeah. What does that look like? That's what truly boosts our metabolism. And so, what does that look like for the 40-something woman? What does that look like for someone who doesn't want to go to the gym? So that's one of the things I'm really focusing on right now, is that how do I start to build this strength training habit with women? And especially women in our age, it's half and half. Some have started strength training back in the day, and some are just coming into it. So it's how do we start to cultivate this muscle culture without being meatheads?
I love that. I love that. Well, where can everyone connect with you online to find out more about what you're doing and to listen to your show as well?
So you can find me on Instagram. You can find me at K Jefferson Coach on Instagram, and then you can find me Kim Barnes Jefferson on Facebook, and my website is Kim Barnes Jefferson as well.
Wonderful. And I'll make sure to include links in the show notes so everyone can connect with you as well, Kim. But thank you so much for being on the show. You are such a bright light, and there's just magic and sparkle all around you. So I appreciate you sharing your heart with us today.
Awesome.
Kim, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. And gang, I'm going to be on Kim's show this week as well. So make sure you search and find the Fit Girl Magic podcast to hear our conversation later this week about what else self-care. And make sure to give her a follow as well at all her social links. I've included those in the show notes for you as well. She's just so fun. I know you loved her as much as I did. So let's talk about my 3 biggest takeaways from this conversation with Kim about habits. So number 1, her show really focuses, her whole business plan, if you will, is based on finding that inner magic within you. And if you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, you haven't found it yet. I have finally found that. Like I said, when I think of that, I think of those little sparkly star emojis kind of all around me. I have found my inner magic and what lights me up. But like Kim mentioned at the beginning of our interview, if you can't hear your body whispering, how are you going to hear it scream? Right? We're not listening to our bodies. We aren't figuring out what is working best for us. And that takes some time to figure out, but a lot of it needs to be you looking inward, being a little bit more quiet and not trying to do what everyone else is trying to do. If you've tried something and failed at it, that's okay. Just focus on why that was and figure out what is going to light you up, what is going to ignite that inner magic, that fire for life for you. So take some time, think about what is going to ignite that inner magic for you. Number 2, you can't run a marathon tomorrow. Nope. You have to put in a training plan, the time, or like Kim says, you have to put in the reps. When you're lifting, doing a workout plan, my clients going through their first 4-week phase of training with me, they're using the same amount of reps. They're getting stronger. And this next phase of training, they'll go up in weight. They've gotten stronger and they'll continue putting in the reps until they gain that strength again to be able to go up another ring and get another weight, as far as getting heavier and getting stronger. So when you're trying to make goals for yourself or plans, you have to be in it for the long haul and put in the reps, put in the time in order to see those changes. We're so quick to give up on ourselves after 20, 30 days. Y'all, this takes time. I've been on my own wellness journey for 5 years and it's still evolving and changing as I'm evolving and changing, as my life is changing, as my kids get older and they change and it changes the way I'm doing things. Life just happens and you have to be able to evolve over time. And like Kim said, we're not running a marathon tomorrow. You got to put in a training plan and really put in the reps in order to see that progress and be in it for the long haul. Okay? So, number 3, you don't have to choose hard, okay? When it comes to beginning new habits, make it as simple as possible. Don't overcomplicate it, like Kim mentioned. We don't get merit badges for being like, look, I did the hardest workout ever. Nobody cares except you. Okay, friend? Even if you put it on social media, people are like, yay, way to go, you. And they're moving on. Because what? Everyone's favorite subject is what? Themselves, right? So you don't have to choose hard when you're trying something new. Trying to add something new to your wellness or self-care routine. Start with small, easy habits. Okay, you want to make it enjoyable. If you're making this really hard and overcomplicating it and it's not bringing you joy, guess what? Those new habits are not going to stick. They're not. I guarantee you, I've done it before myself. I promise you, it is not going to stick. And guess what else? Life happens. Those habits are going to fade away. It happens. And I'm going to share more about this next week on my self-care quickie episode because, during COVID, I've established some new routines for myself. I was doing some new things for my own mental health, and they've kind of faded away. And I'm going to share why that has happened and what my plan is to do to get back into those habits. And, it's something I talk a lot with my personal training clients because they start off so strong and they're halfway through their first training phase and they're like, oh, I'm not sticking with my workouts now. Or, oh, I'm not doing this new self-care habit Emily prescribed to me. Why is that? Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit more next week and how to continue reestablishing habits when you've done good with new habits and then they kind of faded away. Because guess what? Life happens and that's okay. So gang, I hope you will go give Kim a follow because she is a spitfire. I love her. And especially if you're a woman 40 or older, she has a lot of really great tips as she shared in the show for how you need to maintain your physical and mental health at that age because things are a-changing. I can attest to that. They are a-changing, but that doesn't mean we can't be the healthiest version of ourselves. So gang, if you loved today's episode, I would love it if you would leave a rating below and write out a review. Honestly, in iTunes, it's super easy. It takes 2 seconds and it helps the show get a lot more visibility so more people can hear our message of self-care not being selfish and getting some really great tips from amazing guests like Kim. And also take a screenshot. Let me know you're listening. Give us a tag over at Emily Nichols 22. I'd love connecting with you all over there. I'm having so much fun with Reels too. That's been something really fun that I like doing. Dancing around to really fun music is a really big form of self-care in my opinion and brings me a lot of joy. So that's kind of how I see Reels right now. Why not? Why not? So gang, I want you to take care of yourselves. Make self-care a priority, and I hope to see you here again next week. We'll continue the conversation on habits. Like I said, I could go on and on and on about this, but we'll just talk about it again next week on what to do when habits fade away. So sending you all lots of love, and remember, self-care isn't selfish. See you next week.